and welcome to Bandy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your exciting cavalier hosts. Joining me as always is our other exciting and cavalier host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Hi. I like the word choice this week because I understand what the words mean.
Nice.
Not a whole lot. I was wondering, I read something the other day where they were like, somebody was like, watching Conclave, and they were like, I have to say, like, the marketing for this movie is just genius. Sorry. And then I was like, Conclave is going to start, I think, on the 7th of May, which this will probably be out before we'll release this after that time frame.
The process,
But I just wonder, like, should we be, like, laying wagers on this? Do you want to gamble on who's going to be Pope?
I mean,
is that fucked up?
Not? Sure, let's do it. Okay. I mean, like, people gamble on everything, like, so why not?
I mean, like, this is my March Madness. I don't like basketball, but I would wager, like, I would, like, be, like, trying to, like, dip into the Pope zones and figure out who the Cardinals are. I was reading that one of them dropped out over, like, issues.
Ooh,
like,
interesting.
They're, like, not a good...
Exciting.
Yeah! So I was like, this is kind of... like.
Somebody was asking me about it the other day, and they're like, do you know much about popes? And I'm like, not really. And they're like, well, is the Pope dead? And I'm like, yes, he is, yes.
Yes.
Do you, like, I mean, I check the news if that's what you're saying.
Right.
They're like, also... And they're like, but the old... And they're like, is there something like the old Pope's still alive? And I'm like, as far as I know, he is. He stepped down. And they're like, oh, why was that? And I'm like, as far as I can remember, it's because, like, basically they found some stuff in his past, like that he was a member of the Nazi party as a child. Like, he was in the Nazi youth or something.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I might be wrong. I'm near certain that's it. And I think there was other things, but, like, that's why he basically stepped down. And... they're like, wow, so you kind of do know a lot about popes, and I'm like, maybe I do.
Okay, so I'm totally gonna, like, dig into the history of the papacy.
Yeah, so, like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, like, the only thing that's gonna put me off is, oh no, he did die. He died a few years ago. Okay. The last pope. So,
but
yeah.
But he did. Okay, I have to look into that because I mean, we're all human.
This is it. And that, that probably wasn't the actual reason, but I know there was some controversy about, like, him. So yeah, but, like, yeah. I'm sure people will correct me when I am inevitably wrong about this.
It's just weird that someone was like, "Do you know a lot about popes?" And you're like,
I'm like, I guess
he died.
Yeah.
This was his mother's maiden name.
Yeah. This is the town he was born in. This is the school he went to. And so on. So...
What's up with you?
Right, so I have a fairly big piece of news that I have not told you about at all. This is happening live. I'm a TV star now. Thank you very much.
Are you... What's the name of it? Mr. Pickle? What is it? Pickle Burger?
Pickle Storm. Pickle Storm is up.
Oh my God.
My episode is up.
Oh my God.
It is episode 8 of season 2. It's available on the BBC iPlayer if anybody
I don't know if I can get it here.
I don't think you can get it.
Earth Pickle Storm. Okay.
So
maybe I can. Sorry.
So probably if you have access to a VPN, you can probably, like, watch iPlayer in the US, I'd say. But, like, if you want to see me in it, and my friends, obviously my sister's in it, and a few of my other friends, it is... Our sequence is about 6 minutes in, then about 9 minutes in, then about 12 minutes in, roughly.
I'm so excited.
That's right.
Pickle Storm.
So yeah, so that was quite fun, and it's quite funny because, like, let's say my sister and other friends are mortified that it's out there and they don't want to watch it, and I'm like, who cares?
So exciting. If I find a link on YouTube, I'll link everybody to it so they can watch. But the kids, like, I was like, you guys, like, Andy's in a kids TV show, and they were like, when is it coming out? And then Charlie was like, is Andy coming to my birthday party? And I was like, I don't think so, buddy. He's like, where does he live? And I was like, Ireland. And he's like, oh, how far away is
Yeah.
that? And I'm like, it's all the way across the ocean, honey. It's all the way across the Atlantic. So probably not going to come to your
Would
pinata party. Sorry.
would that I could.
I
Would that I
know,
could.
I know, I know. Never say never.
Exactly. Never say never. Who knows? A lot of things can happen between now and then.
Yes.
Um,
Pickle storm.
So pickle storm. So there you go. So like,
So
and as I've been
excited.
saying, people are like, we want your autograph, and I've
Yes.
been saying, if you want my autograph, you need to go through my agent. There's I will not be taking direct requests. It's going to be at least £10 for an autograph, £30 for a signed photo, etc., etc.
Right.
You know, so you know, reach out to Bandy Podcast if you want some sort of autograph. That's going to be worth a lot of money in the future.
Yes, yes. Don't invest in crypto. Invest in our autographs.
Yeah. Invest in like a fat stack of Andy Young autographs. Yeah, I mean, dude, seriously though, if anybody does want to buy those off me, I will happily sell you autographs for as many as you want. 10 or a touch. The other thing that's happening with me is I'm officially going to Canada. It's happening.
What part of Canada?
So, going to spend some time, flying into Toronto, then almost immediately over to Calgary. Then spending about a week in the Rockies, roughly, and then back over to Toronto and having about 4 or 5 days there.
So fun.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for it.
I've never been on that side of Canada.
Uh-huh.
I've only been to like Vancouver and Victoria, I think. So I'm curious to hear what it's like.
I'm really excited for it. Like, I'm really excited for Calgary and the Rockies in particular. I'll get a few days in Calgary as well, but like, I'm really excited to see Toronto as well. Here's a great city, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's, you know, we talked about in a previous episode, I find it's a really very good thing for my head going away. Holidays, like, I'm, you know, very privileged that I can do them, but like, I'm very much looking forward for the kind of reset that comes with it for me, you know.
I'm looking forward to that for you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you? I think we blaze past this. Do you have any? What's a crack that we haven't touched on?
I booked tickets to fly to Oregon in August.
Ooh.
So I have not been
How
back.
do you feel about that?
You know, I feel good. I feel good. It's been like I've had this like mental block. Not mental block.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just like I associate it with like being sick and like rainy and like stuck in COVID and stuck in the house, and so it'll be like nice time of year. Mike's got a high school reunion that we get to go to, so I get to see all the high school friends.
Nice.
My nibblings, and family and all of that.
Sorry, what?
Nibbling?
Nibbling?
Yeah, it's like the nicer way of saying, okay, well, not to get into pronouns, but not everyone wants to be a niece or a nephew.
Ooh.
So you can say nibbling. And then it's kind of like...
I like that.
Thank you. And it's cuter than niece or nephew. And it's all encompassing, you know? Because like...
I love it. Okay, I've not heard of it before. It's great. Yeah.
There you go. There's down at the pronoun update.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
We got 11 days that we're gonna be there, and you know, it's like I haven't seen a lot of people in it'll be 4 years. So
I was gonna say it's been since you moved that you've been up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
Gonna do it.
I like it. I love
doing things that are
awesome.
scary to me that would not necessarily be for other people, but I am who I am.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Fantastic. Do you have any other
No. I'd like to dive into our topic.
Okay, you know what's current either then?
No. Do you have any more cracks?
Let's go. No, more topic time.
Topic.
Let's blaze into a topic. Okay, so
boom.
Because you know what? Explosions are cool.
That's right.
So like, this is like, you know, in case everybody's like, well, what the hell are they friggin' talking about this time? We, you know, have a shared love of like action movies. I think, you know, any human being with a pulse loves a good action movie, right? As far as I'm concerned. So we thought it'd be a fun one to talk about, the ones that have meaning for us. how we think about them, what we would kind of qualify as an action movie and so on.
Okay, so definition.
Okay.
The action film is a film genre that predominantly features chase sequences, fights, shootouts, explosions, yay, and stunt work, yay. The specifics of what constitutes an action film has been in scholarly debate since 1980s, apparently.
Okay.
So, while some scholars, such as David Bordwell, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, suggested that
Okay.
they were films that favor spectacle to storytelling, others, such as Jeff King, stated that they allow the scenes of spectacle to be attuned to storytelling. Action films are often hybrid with other genres, mixing various forms such as comedies, science fiction, and horror. So
What you're telling me is that we're scholars now.
we are.
That's the
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Well, you're the gentleman and I'm the scholar.
Okay, I'll take it. I will take it.
So this is a heavily debated topic.
So interesting that it is, because I was trying to think of what.
You're like thinking, and you're like, does that count? Does this movie count?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Because I was wondering whether Jaws would have been the first sort of. I mean, it's the first blockbuster, but whether it's the first action movie, and I don't think it is. I mean, I started thinking back to a little bit more even though it's a film that I've never seen, and it's a film that apparently everybody has seen, like The Great Escape, for example, is that an action movie?
Yeah. Well, and then it's the James Cagney mob movies, from the I don't know my time frames there, but those were action and adventure and The Great Escape.
Are westerns action movies? Sometimes, I guess.
So all the spaghetti westerns too. Yeah. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Historical ones, do those count? Tombstone, right?
Well, I think those things can exist outside of the action genre, right? Because there are definitely moodier, sort of more character based ones, which I don't think I would describe it as action films necessarily, but I think action films can probably exist within that genre.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, this is totally off topic, but you know what I saw the other day? Kevin, I don't know if this is true. AI is messing with me because it's this movie's being made, and you're like, what? It's clickbait, and it's just kidding.
Sure.
It was Moana starring Zendaya or whatever, and I was exciting, and then it was no, it's just someone's dream. So I'm pretty sure that Kevin Bacon is coming back and making a Tremors miniseries.
Oh, interesting.
I know.
Okay.
Of all the news, that's what I was most excited about. So does that count also I think we can include TV shows.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense.
Am I right or am I wrong? Look in your mind garden.
No, I'm not seeing any. No, you. Okay, there's definitely chatter about it.
Okay,
but,
good.
Who knows?
Okay.
And honestly, it would not surprise me because we are living in a time when it's just shit. What old IPs do we have that we can dig up and read? And because even some of them seem to go catastrophically wrong. Whenever they go right, there is a fortune of money to be made.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, yeah. We were watching. Sorry, off topic but on topic. We were watching TV the other night. Something came up for Andor, which is another Star Wars offshoot.
Yep.
And Mike's like, how many fucking more Star Wars things? I'm like, I can't keep up with it at this point.
It's it's legitimately good. I mean, I kind of hate it because it is kind of because so much of Star Wars is very much targeted for the family and quite kiddie friendly.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite dopey, but Andor is quite well written and grown up, and I was really kind of skeptical of that because I was like, well, how good is this going to be? And the first season was surprisingly entertaining, so I am cautiously optimistic about season 2 as well, but we will see.
Okay, so back to our topic. I guess I would say on this debate, an action movie can be both character based and not.
Yep.
and I think that's cool. So sorry,
Yes.
David and Jeff with a G.
Yeah, David and Jeff, you so-called scholars.
Right. Um,
What do you know?
I know. So
Uh-huh.
what's your favorite action movie ever?
Oh my god. I wasn't prepared for this. Probably Aliens, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. It's on my that's on
Like,
my list.
I fucking love Predator as well.
Yeah.
Like, and I do like a kind of creature feature. You know, I like my sci-fi sort of stuff. So, like, it had to be something sci-fi. Like, I also really love Terminator 2.
That was so I was like that's always the one that comes to my brain the first. And then I was like, hunting and doing all my extensive research, and a lot of the I'm like, top 10, top 20, top, and it's like Terminator 2 comes up as number 1.
Yep.
So, I think that's like when you think of the quintessential like action movie, it's probably starring Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yep.
and it's probably a blockbuster, and it probably made millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And, odds are James Cameron is somewhere in there too.
This is so true. He is very strongly connected with that. Like, it was interesting. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, I watched Titanic for the first time in years recently, and they said it was incredible. It's so good. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's James Cameron.
Yeah. And
The
I
guy's
remember
undeniable.
watching it like and being like disappointed, and some of the, the dialogue, but like I watched it with the kids because I was like, let's show you some disaster. Give you something to cry about. And it was like, oh, this is actually really good.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'm not crazy about The Abyss. I still like it
I
a
love The
lot,
Abyss,
but like,
yeah.
this is the thing.
Yeah.
And I totally respect, I do like it. It's just not one of my guys, but like, it's, I really think he's such an incredible filmmaker. I think he could make any subject kind of interesting. Like, and I get the criticisms of Avatar movies, but like, I think both of them are really fantastic. To be honest with you,
it's like, for me, a good action movie is one where I'm like, I could watch that at least once a year.
Yes.
And be like, and notice new things, and like I watched, Jurassic Park is like an action. I think it's an action movie.
I think so. I think that's fair to say. Yep.
And we watch that at least once a year, the original, not all of the.
I have been thinking about that again recently. It's been so long since I've watched it, and I really need to.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's such an incredible movie.
It's so good. So I have some Terminator 2 facts. So Robert Patrick, who plays a cyborg, I guess he undertook like a running regime and practiced like breathing through his nose only to appear more like a cyborg that could run at like high speeds without showing any sort of fatigue. And he trained so hard that he was able to catch up with Edward Furlong on his dirt bike. Like, as a kid, if you're like, I'm riding my dirt bike, and like you're being chased by Robert Patrick and he catches up to you, it's terrifying. There was a concern as to how realistic the CGI would be. Like, there's a scene where there's a helicopter that goes underneath the overpass in the LA River. And they were like, how are we going to do this? And they were just like, oh, we'll just have a pilot fly it. So there's no CGI there, which I love movies that have very like little CGI. I mean, I get it. It's necessary for the cyborg and like all of the morphing. But
and it's probably one of these things that like nobody should be doing that.
Yeah.
But like James Cameron sounds like the sort of guy who will convince somebody to do it, or like I know the guy who's just crazy enough to do a stunt like this.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another one, and you probably already know this, but Linda Hamilton, who plays Sarah Connor, she's an identical twin. So at the end, when she's like her other, the cyborg like turns into her, and she's like, it's her sister. And there are other parts in the movie where people are mirroring, like the cyborg is mirroring. He just literally, I hired people that were twins.
Hired twins.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy with security card and stuff like that.
So it looked completely real because it was, which I appreciate.
So great.
And then,
And
those are the cool
so
facts.
no, I don't think I asked you what your favorite was, or would you have a favorite?
I would say I made a list.
Okay.
It's a toss-up for me between Terminator 2 and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was thinking the indie films are like so freaking good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're just absolute masterpieces, especially Raiders. Like, I also have such a soft spot for Last Crusade, but like, geez, Raiders, they're both such like Raiders of the Lost Ark's just
It's a masterpiece.
magical, pure magic. It really is.
So I would say probably Raiders. Like we rewatched it, I don't know, like a month ago, and I was like, God, this is so fucking good. It's so good.
Do you know? So did you know that Steven Spielberg always wanted to direct James Bond? And could never convince them because they didn't want an American director doing it, basically. And this was what he did instead, was like, and it's like, wow, why? Like, let's do our own sort of thing. And it's like, I mean, just smashing it out of the park, like, absolutely incredible.
I have a trivia fact for you that is like
Okay.
bang on to what you just said. So, George Lucas, I guess, like, he'll go, when his movies are coming out, he goes away on vacation. So he doesn't have to like think about it or like stress about it. So when Star Wars A New Hope came out, he was on vacation in Hawaii with Steven Spielberg. And when all of the like Star Wars blew up and they were like, okay, this is a good thing, it's gonna be a hit, like Lucas totally relaxed, and then he could like focus on talking about what other things they could do. So Spielberg was like, I want to do a James Bond movie, and Lucas was like, I have a better idea. How about an adventure movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark based on the book? And I'm gonna read this verbatim. The conversation happened while the two were making a sandcastle. After the trip, they got together and wrote the script. So I just love that, like something that we all enjoy and is like so much a part of like who we are. Was birthed from the two of them on on a beach making a sandcastle.
So amazing.
I know. I'm not that good with my vacation time. I'm like, not that creative.
No, this is true. I mean, they were such like sort of like they were the kind of the new wave, weren't they? That they were the kind of, and like Lucas, I feel like for his latter stuff gets a lot of shit.
He does.
But if you think about the stuff that he, like the ideas that he had when he was beginning, like Indy and Star Wars alone should put anybody into the stratosphere of film history, and like I know he worked on other stuff. I think he did Willow and stuff as well, which I think is a pretty incredible movie too.
Oh, so good. Mad Mardigan,
amazing.
Raise one for Val Kilmer, man.
Yeah, I listened to a nice podcast episode about him recently, and like he seemed like a true eccentric, but also like a pretty wonderful guy to people who treated him with respect, and it was like, yes, it was pretty rad.
Okay.
Yes.
So, controversial question.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that there's a point at which, like, action movies stopped being, like, good?
Oof.
Right? Because, like, when you think of, like, good action movies, like, I can't really think of anything 2015 to now where I'm like, this movie, right? Like, all the ones that I have are, like, Raiders, Speed, Point Break.
That's a good
expendable movies. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I get the star quality of it, but
I feel like, I mean, obviously what has happened in that time frame is that superhero movies have taken over
that's
all
true.
of
That's
that
true.
real estate.
Good point.
Like,
Andy Young.
So, like, thank you very much.
Scholar of the
film. Yeah, but like and I think there are some good action movies in there. I think there genuinely are. But like, I think that it's I think you see these things happen. You've seen these things happen throughout the history of film, where like certain genres have really taken on like extra importance. You know, they've become really magnified. You know, so I feel like that's replaced so much of the space that those things took up. But like, so I'm really kind of trying to rack. I'm gonna have a look because I was the first thing that sprang to mind, like one of my favorite kind of action movies. And I guess it's a martial arts movie. Is a movie called The Raid.
I haven't seen
and
that.
It's sensational. Like I saw it again in the cinema. This was the one I told you about, that there was a live martial arts demonstration beforehand.
That's right.
But like it's so lean. It's about 90 minutes long, and it's a very little exposition. Like even the story of what it is, there is not much there. But it's just like one incredible set piece after another. It's brutal. Like it's like a hard 18 for violence. Like there's no messing around. But it's absolutely incredible. Like it's like seeing it in a cinema. I hadn't seen it in years, and I saw it in the cinema when it first came out. And like seeing people's reactions. Clearly, some people had like brought friends along as like, you've got to see this movie, and people going, wow. It's just like, this rocks so much. So yeah, but it was 2011, so that movie is 14 years old.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So I think you're right. Like the superhero movies have taken the place of like your, not generic, but like your standard blockbuster film. But I think a lot of it, you know, it's like a lot of things are being recycled too. You know, it's like Blade Runner. Okay, like. Yeah.
It's true. Like, yeah.
And they're making, you know, the other nothing against the other Indiana Jones movies, but I feel like the first three are like definitely the best.
Yes, I think you're right. Oh, 100%. There's a real nosedive after that. I feel like there's fun stuff in the other two, but they're both pretty terrible. I'm looking through stuff, and I'm looking, you know, just to see what I'm not thinking about here. And, you know, monster movies have always been a big deal, like Kong, and it's mostly franchise stuff. So it's been like that. It's also been Fast and Furious, obviously, is a big one.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a film that went through. That's a series that went through a renaissance, and they were great for a while, but they've kind of like fallen off a wee bit. I also think the Mission Impossible movies do incredible action.
They do.
For the most part.
They do.
They've went through ebbs and flows as well, but there's a lot of great stuff in there. But yeah, it's just like trying to think of like standalone, cool new ideas. It's hard to think of anything in recent years. Oh, John Wick.
Oh, I have not. Movies. You know, I have not watched those.
They're not all good. The first one rocks. It's friggin' amazing, and then like I feel like the second and third are good but not great, and then fourth I loved as well. Okay. So like they're definitely worth the just because like, you know, the storyline of the first one is very relatable in that I think his girlfriend dies, and then these the bad guys kill his dog, and he's just on a roof.
Yes.
Right, we understand
would be,
that.
Absolutely. It's like,
so
that's when I walk out of the fucking
away.
Movie theater.
Yeah.
So, also, like, there are, like, quintessential action stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Keanu Reeves. Yes. Obviously, like, we're his fangirls.
Yes.
But I heard that they're making... Constantine is, like, one of my favorite movies. And they're making Constantine 2. And he's like, that's probably, like, one of my favorite roles. That's probably my favorite role I've ever played. And so they're going to do another one, and I'm like, it better please be good. Not it better be good. I would really love it if it was really a good. That's
another thing that's been happening a lot recently, where it's like films that are like, I mean, how old is that movie? Is that at least 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
Possibly
I think so.
Closer to 30, maybe?
So,
God, it's probably going to upset me when I say
that
film
Okay,
is.
Hold on. 2005.
2005. Okay, geez, it is 20 years. Oh my lord. So like another one, and it's one that came out this week over in this country, is The Accountant 2.
Yes.
And I'm like,
did you like The Accountant? I know.
I have never seen it. I'm
it's like I mean, we watched it, but I wasn't like. Sorry, I have. I've been obsessed with making a crow friend. I have
Yes.
one that's living in my pool now, and he's
Ooh,
like
okay.
using the pool water to like eat his food.
I like it.
I know, and he's like He's out there. He just washed a snail shell with a snail in it, and then got it out, and he's like pulling it apart. He totally wants to cuddle and be
Nice.
my best friend. Sorry. Um.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Sorry. What were you just saying?
I was just saying, I was talking about the accountant too, and how, like,
Mm-hmm.
I just was like,
What is
who's asking for this movie?
what has been?
I don't understand
I
it.
know. I think it was like a sleeper of a hit. Like it
Oh, was
came
it? Okay.
out, and people were like, "This is good." And it got a lot of like views, and so they decided to make another one. And it's a good cat. I guess I Ben Affleck now has his own production company with
Uh-huh.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
So it's like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I mean, like, I'm all for it. Like, who gives a shit, really? Like,
Mm.
if you can make something and make money out of it, you enjoy yourself.
So, I talk about the studio a lot because it's like
Yeah.
it really dives into like what it's like to, be a green lighter, be a producer, and um, the slings and arrows that come from that. So like testing a movie is a big deal, making sure the audiences like it, and if they don't, you got to change things. And they go into like what that is like and what it looks like and what the meanings are like. And I don't know how they got Ron Howard to like say some of the worst words I've ever heard on television, but they did. It's so fucking funny. So the movie Speed,
Okay.
also with Keanu Reeves.
Ooh, okay.
So they were doing a test, like it's that's probably one of, I haven't watched it in a while, but like I think back and I'm like, so good. I guess most of my movies are Keanu Reeves movies. Maybe
I mean,
yeah, right.
Beth, this is why you need to see the John Wick movies.
I
You
know.
need to
What the
watch
fuck have
them.
I been doing with myself?
Yeah, truly.
So
Because
yes.
he's looking hot as hell in those movies as well.
Well, and
Anyway,
it's
go
like
on.
The Matrix. Like he's
Yep,
not only is he like an action star, he's like a human hero. But
it's true.
so I guess so it's a 20th Century Fox movie. They realized that they had a hit on their hands because when they were doing the test screenings, like people were walking backwards to go to the bathroom so that they wouldn't
I
miss
love it.
anything that was happening on the screen. And I was like, yes,
So good.
right? Those are the things I like to know.
That's always a good sign. Yeah, I love it.
Um,
But yeah, it's so something else I wanted to touch on as well, and this might be a good time to do it,
Yeah.
is that idea of, and they talk, and I know there's a lot of kind of like talk about this and kind of film analysis, the idea of big name stars like your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, like your Stallones back in the day, like, you know, Mel Gibson, so on and so forth.
he's on my list too.
Gee, some interesting pulls there.
Yeah.
But like, and you just don't really have that anymore. It's more about the IPs, it's more about the franchises than it is about
The individual.
the big kind of name draws. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And I suppose it feels.
It's almost like
it
the
is.
directors are more important than the actors, and everyone's like, "Oh my god,
yeah.
Christopher Nolan's movie!" It's like that's the draw, not that like,
That's a good point.
not that, you know, the cat. Not it's not the cast; it's the director. Like
It's true.
James
That's
Cameron's
so true.
making another Avatar. Like which is cool, because the work that they make is exceptional. You know,
It's true. It's true.
I'm
I think
excited
that,
about
like,
Odysseus or the
Yes,
Odyssey.
as am I. There's like another Odyssey-based movie that came out just last
I
year that
noticed
has just
that.
been
Panned.
drowned
Yes.
because there's a Christopher Nolan one coming out.
And they're
It's
like,
oh, you
"This
poor
is them
bastards."
filming. Look, it's Matt Damon," and he's
Yeah.
yeah,
He's ripped.
He's
ripped
ripped.
as hell. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Uh,
I'm in. Say no more. Yeah, but it's, I think, like, I'm guessing the whole sort of move away from star-driven stuff versus, you know, IP-driven stuff is that they have more control over that. Like, stars are harder to, like, control, I guess, whereas the IP is essentially just, they can do whatever the hell they want
what
with
does
it,
IP
you know, if
mean?
they own it.
I don't know what that means.
And intellectual property, so say, for
Gotcha.
example,
Like
you know,
Disney
owning-
has Star Wars.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Gotcha.
They have the IP for Star Wars, which is they own all this shit, basically.
And Marvel owns Marvel.
No, Disney also owns Marvel.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
Ah.
They bought them around the time the first Avengers movie came out
Okay.
because they were like, there's money being made here, and they worked out nicely for them.
Someone made a good.
Somebody made a good choice.
Yeah.
But and I suppose there has been a move away from the real kind of excess and gore that maybe defined some of the movies back in the 80s. Maybe not so much into the 90s, you know what I mean? They kind of like calmed down a wee bit. I guess there's probably fears of what kind of blood and gore would affect people. I think probably not that much. I mean, horror movies are still a massive thing. You're still seeing a lot of that shit there. But like,
Yeah, I remember not to be Debbie Downer, but the Columbine shootings.
yeah,
I remember because the kids listened. Sorry, the crow was here. The kids listened to Marilyn Manson and were dressed like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, right? That was and there was so many guns. Like watching The Matrix, I was like, there are a lot of guns, right? And
it's true.
That's how we beat the supercomputer that can morph into anything, like more guns, really.
Get some guns. It's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But I think there's been there's so much. They talk about that, those things are easy scapegoats for, probably the very complex root causes of why these things happen.
Bad parenting. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But
yes,
kind of.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so whereas, there have been other things like heavy metal and music and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that have been bugbears for many years. And I think action movies, video games is another kind of, I mean, I was going to say a modern one, but video games being tarred and feathered for that sort of thing has been going on for 30 years now, at least. Grand Theft Auto gets a lot of kind of flack for that.
Yeah.
And I think there's catharsis in some of this stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't watch a martial arts movie and go, right, I'm going to start head kicking people. I'm just kind of I like the adrenaline rush to that. I think it delivers for me what some people get out of horror movies, that I like, and we've talked about it before. I don't mind a horror movie, but it's not something I seek out.
I love a horror movie. I love. I love jump scares. What was I watching the other day? Oh, Heretic.
Oh yeah.
With Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
And
how'd you find it?
I didn't finish it because Mike was he got up and toddled off to do something else, and I didn't want to watch the rest by myself. So I read what happens at the end, and I love me some Hugh Grant,
Sure.
So
I think the first 2/3 of that film are the best parts anyway.
Okay.
I think that whenever it descends into the last bit, it's interesting, but it's not. I think the whole sort of did you see the kind of debates he's having with them about religion and things? Yeah. So I think there's some fun stuff in there, and it's I don't think it's my fear as much as I don't really care about religion necessarily, but my fear was that it was going to be a religion is bad, but it wasn't really. It was a more complex discussion about what it means and what it is to the world, and I thought that was great. And I think that any film like that is inevitably going to devolve down into something a bit more messy and kind of genre-y in terms of so how do you end something like that? How but I still think there's a lot of good stuff in there.
I was also I guess there are horror action movies, Aliens is a horror action movie. That's Mike's favorite movie of all time ever, all genres. I know, right? He's got I can't remember if I showed it to you. He's got his door handle Aliens present or something from the original. And I was he still has his MTV jacket, so man keeps everything. I know. I had a fact. Did I have a fact?
One of the things just before I talk about Aliens, I mean, what it's so iconic. I mean, you think about the conversation the other day, thinking about the idea of creatures jumping on your faces that have happened in loads of different properties
Yes.
now, and like how that was like. I mean, like, as far as I know, at least anyway, that was an entirely new idea by them, and then it just becomes this thing, this concept, you know, and it's like, and that's just one small part of that movie that just becomes defines entertainment, you know. It's crazy.
I liked that an artist, Geiger, right, who's the artist that created the alien and the shit, like all of the visuals for that concept. I don't know which came first, the script or Geiger, really.
That's a good question. I'm pretty certain.
Did they ask him to make it?
I'm pretty certain he had done sketches that were already leaning in that direction. But then I think he narrowed it down to more what the alien actually looked like. But yeah, I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but that's a good question.
Okay. But that, the visuals of that's James Cameron, right?
Yes.
So, and it's like a compliment when there's like Alien versus Predator and Alien and Aliens and, like this whole franchise, I guess IP now, maybe. But it's a compliment to the original, right? If they make more.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad,
Yeah.
I make fun of nostalgia all the time, but like I'm totally that person that's like, yay! They're bringing back Harrison Ford and right?
Yeah,
Han Solo's back and he died. Oh.
Yeah. I can't be cynical about those things, and I really want them to be good, and like see if, and I think there are good versions of these things that happen, but I think that overwhelmingly they tend to be bad, sadly, and they tend to be like fairly cynical cash-ins, and I'm just like, ugh, this is disappointing.
Yeah. So the original Aliens, was it Alien? Or Aliens?
Alien. Yeah, the first one's Alien. Alien came first, then Aliens.
And then Aliens. But Aliens is always the one that people are like, this is the best one. That's the one that with the little girl.
Yes. And I think Alien is more seen as a horror film, and
then Aliens
people
is
love
action.
it, and rightly so. It's a great movie, but they're very different kinds of movies.
Yes. So I guess for Aliens, like they don't shoot movies in sequence anymore, but James Cameron, there's the very beginning where you meet all of the colonial Marines, and there's like all this banter, and you can tell that they all like know each other really well. He decided to film those scenes last because like all those people had been working together for like months.
That's a nice idea.
And I like that is the stuff I think that like it's like what is the magic formula, right?
Yep.
Good director, good cast, good script, but also I think it's like the director really thinking things through and being like, this is what I want this scene to really feel like. And
absolutely.
I think, to James Cameron's credit, like giving, now he has, he's lofted himself into another stratosphere where he can make all the decisions he wants or like that.
That's right.
Like building the Titanic or half the Titanic or whatever to film it.
Building the sub to go down there. Yeah.
But it's like that's part of the magic formula, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think I kind of respect those sorts of people. Like I would guess that probably working with some of these guys would be an absolute fucking nightmare, and I'm told that James Cameron...
It's hard.
I'm told he's improved, but
yes.
He was an absolute fucking horror show to work with.
Michael Bay, is another one where people are just like, ugh, so hard to work with.
Yeah.
And like, his stuff isn't bad.
No, he's got some fun movies, but they're like really kind of dumb, but they're also a lot of fun,
Yes.
Like I love... why have I forgotten the name of the one? The one on...
The Day After Tomorrow? Tomorrow?
No. Hold on. Okay, fill for me while I...
Yeah. So he, like, Michael Bay kind of does the bigger... Like, well, okay, no, he did Bad Boys.
He did the Transformers movies.
He did the Transformers.
He
He did The Rock. He did Armageddon.
He did. He did. Yeah.
So, I guess he. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, he remade the Texas
The
Chainsaw
Rock.
Massacre,
Yeah.
Amityville Horror, Friday the 13th. Okay, yeah, he
The
made
Rock
quite
is
a bunch
exactly
of
what I
movies.
was searching for
Anyways,
there because I freaking love that movie. Love that movie so
yeah, it's
much.
like Jerry Bruckheimer is another good one. Am I frozen? Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm frozen.
Oh
Sorry,
yes.
everybody.
Well, he was the big.
So
He was like
yeah,
super
Jerry
producer,
Bruckheimer
wasn't he? That did like.
did was also okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was indeed. And there will be people who will be like, "Hey, no,
Yeah, right.
shouting us again." Yes, he was a producer. He was not the director. Bruckheimer, like he has done so many
Mm-hmm.
uber budgeted movies. Like he's
And
behind the scenes
for a
for
lot of
many
those,
things.
there's like a formula, right? Where it's like a cast of, 20 people and they all
Yeah.
have their like own storyline and then they all come together at the end and someone makes a powerful
Yep.
speech and then they beat the bad guys. Um,
Love it.
so I like the ones that are like, Jaws, Jurassic Park, Raiders of the Lost
Yes.
Ark. It's like there's a different formula.
So like creature featurey type ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean also like, you know, when you're talking about those ones in particular, you're in the hands of the master. Like the friggin' action master there. Nobody makes films like Spielberg.
No.
Yeah, I mean like, I think and you're so right. Whenever I think about them, it is like a handful of directors who really kind of like stuck the landing in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that occurred to me and I had written it down here was Die Hard,
Ooh. Definitely on the list.
which is John McTiernan. Is it John McTiernan who also did Predator and stuff like that as well? Like he is all way up there for me too. Yes, he did do Predator. Yeah, I thought I was going insane there, but like, there's a handful of people who made these like god tier action movies for me. The ones that I will always think about. And they're directors that I think I will continue to go back to. In the future, if they're still making films. So what were you saying?
Back to Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote down the worst ones.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, like it's on the list, but I don't really like it. Independence Day. I think it's Jerry Bruckheimer.
Ooh. No, he didn't direct it. That's
It's probably
Roland
producer.
Emmerich and Dean Devlin or whatever.
Yeah,
But yes,
it's like I just can't. I'll watch it, but it's not my favorite. Like I feel like they could have done
get it.
better.
Like those films are cheesy as hell. Like I mean, but I understand why you don't like that film. I do quite. I've got a soft spot for it, but like just the kind of sheer insanity of like Will Smith having like a battle with an alien spaceship, making it crash land,
Yes.
and then coming up whenever it comes out of punching it in the face
Yes,
and saying
welcome
to
to
Earth.
Earth. Yeah, and I
rocks
had
so
a
hard.
missed memory. I messed up my memory of that. I thought he said "Welcome to Earth, bitch," but he doesn't. He just
Yeah,
says
I wish he did.
Welcome to Earth," and then punches it in the face. Yeah, so I guess
good.
that's my favorite part of the movie.
I totally get it, and I can totally. It's not one that I'd be super precious about, but I have fondness for, and I think that those directors made a lot of like disaster movies, and a lot of them are trash, but like I have fondness for that for sure.
Yeah. So I also like you mentioned like martial arts, and I do
Yes.
like martial arts action movies. So like
Yeah,
the
me too.
IP Man ones
Yes,
are
they're great.
so good and based on an actual human, which is always fun.
The ones in recent years. There's like there's a. I'm going to say recent years. This one's probably 30 years old as well. There's a movie called On Back that I loved, like a Thai martial art film, The Raid, which I talked about. I think is
that.
just, it's so freaking good. Like it's just wall to wall action. It's I say it's brutal, but it's like there's nothing else like it. Just a great soundtrack and stuff as well. It's just so incredible. And like I only get to see a handful of like martial arts movies, but like a good one really kind of like sticks with me in a way that other things don't.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't like. I would count James Bond movies as being action.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
I think that there are good ones in there, but I think by and large they're not for me at all.
Like Mike will sit down, like he's got all of the James Bond movies, and like anytime,
Oh, really?
yeah, he loves them. And I don't know if
Um,
it's because the guy, like he lived in Jamaica, and the guy like wrote the books in Jamaica, and there's
Getcha.
that tie. Was it Ian Fleming? No. Yes. No. Broccoli. What's his name? It doesn't matter.
Oh, no, Ian Fleming was the guy who wrote them.
Okay.
Broccoli of the family that owned the film rights and controlled them for many
That's
years.
what it is. Okay. And then I think Amazon just bought it, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, like it's they never really worked for me, and it's one of those ones where it's like, as then obviously they've modernized him, but you kind of look back at James Bond's behavior and you're kind of like, bro,
Yeah.
like you need to like hose yourself down and just like stay away from women for a while,
Yeah.
please, in the name of God.
Yeah. Unless you're Sean Connery.
Well, yeah.
Can't fault that guy if you're being a
Well,
disgusting human.
he has
Yeah.
top of that.
So
top
do
of the
you
chart.
have like your comfort action movies where you're like, oh, I'm feeling like blank?
The indie movies like really saw me through last Christmas. Rewatching them, just really, I found them really helpful. I used to rewatch them. I mean, like obviously they're not that old, but like some of them are now. But like some of the Marvel movies really work well for me now. But I really struggle to like sit through a movie at home these days, so it's not happening quite as much. But like they were definitely important to me. I think like the Star Wars movies, obviously, if you count them as action movies,
Totally.
there's a fair bit of action.
Oh yeah, that's on my list.
And I think like Terminator movies, certainly the first two, and Predator would be other ones I would go back to again and again.
Yeah, I think for me, yeah, I think I get attached to directors. So I would say like Spielberg,
Yep.
Lucas, Cameron, like those, like
Yeah.
them, and then whatever they
I think
produce, it always feels good, and looks good,
think
and sounds good.
And I mean, like, I 100%. I think that's happened to me. Like, I've always been, I was like one of these kids who's reading film magazines, as a teenager, and that was something I was obsessed with. So like, it has definitely become more important to me. Like, I definitely have always kind of been interested in directors, but like, I think I would have taken at certain points would have been like,
Ooh,
sniffy about
George
Spielberg.
Miller.
George Miller, yes, yes. I think both of the, I mean, I say recent, but Fury Road and I thought Furiosa were both fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's another. He's like visually, nobody else is like him at all. Nobody else even comes close. But yes, so like I think that I would have been like sniffy about like more populist directors
Sniffy.
back. Like, ooh, excuse me, no, thank you. I'll be watching my art house cinema over here. Thank you very much. But then, like, as time went on, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, I enjoy, like, I popcorn flick, like, something dumb
Yeah.
and entertaining as much. Like, I still, don't get me wrong, I love, like, sort of, like, other, art housey stuff and, like, more indie stuff. But, like, I think there's a place for both these things. I love them so much, but like very much so. Like, I'm thrilled, like Spielberg has a sci-fi movie in the works currently, and I'm like, I cannot wait to see what that is. So
What?
very excited for him.
Are you serious?
Right, exactly. Yep, that's his next movie. I don't know what it's a new idea. I don't know much more about it than that, but I just know he's working on a sci-fi thing, and I'm like, yes. So yeah.
I love him so much. Okay, upcoming, he's got
Yeah.
21. Executive producer, but we want director. They're making Cape Fear into a TV series.
God, of course they are. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've
Gremlins
got any
3.
other thoughts. Oh God, let's not go down.
I know.
Let's not go down that terrifying path. Do you have any other thoughts on action movies just before we start to head
You
to
know,
the end of
they
our...
totally. I think we didn't touch on soundtrack, but I think that soundtrack is a really important part of cinema. So like thinking of like, you know, the Jurassic Park soundtrack, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think the music makes a difference in movies, and so like soundtracks matter. And it's like, yeah, when you think of Star Wars, like you can do the Raiders or the da 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 da. It's like you can't have Star Wars without that. You can't have Raiders without the soundtrack. Same thing with, you know, all of the Jurassic movies. So I do think that the music and soundtracks make a difference and are part of the equation. So
very much so, very much. They're huge. I completely agree. Like they really make all the difference. They really do. Love it. Okay. Shall we move into our final wee section of the episode, Beth? Just ask you what has been bringing you joy this week.
Can you go first?
Sure. So I have something that's kind of connected to this. I mean, it's a comic book series I've been reading. It's called Firepower, and I just love the concept of it. I finally finished the series. It finished maybe a year or so ago, and I got the second collection recently. Essentially about this martial artist who's trying to find out about his family, who his parents died, he was adopted, and he goes around the world teaching, learning from all these masters, and they tell him to go to this temple. And he goes to this temple, and at this temple they do practice a very kind of high level martial art, but they're seeking this thing called the firepower, where they want to be able to launch fireballs from their fists, essentially. And he becomes the first person to unearth this power in like 100 years. And then it's kind of what happens after that. And it's so much fun. It's like, there's not tons of martial arts comics, certainly Western wise. So it's such and it's like one of my favorite artists doing the artwork. And it's just like such a lovely combination of that kind of silly kung fu stuff with art that I love, with a writer that I really like, you know. And it was just such a nice kind of world to spend time with. I also really love a problem with a lot of comics is that they are run forever. Spider-Man will never die,
right,
you know.
Right.
And like, so the stakes are really low. So like when a comic has a beginning and an end and they have it in mind, it's always kind of lovely seeing that story through to the end. So it was great kind of reading through that.
Awesome.
Yeah, Firepower. It's great.
Firepower.
Firepower. Firepower.
I like it.
What about you? Did you find one?
You know, I'm reading a book. I read The Rural Diaries by Hilary Burton Morgan. She's married to Dean Morgan, God, what's his name?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, yeah, it's his wife. They've got like they call it a Mischief Farm up in upstate New York. Like Paul Rudd is one of their best friends. They're like good human beings. They saved like the town candy store with Paul Rudd. Like the owner died and they like took it over and kept it going for the whole town. So she wrote another book called Grimmery Girl. And it's all about like making your own like anthology and traditions and magical thinking for your family.
I like it. It's nice.
And so I'm kind of doing that. Like, what traditions do we have? What like things do I want to make sure that the kids like, you know, are able to carry on through their lives and the lives of their kids? And it's that kind of concept of like, what magic do we have within our lives and what magic can we create? So it's a little witchy, I'm not going to lie. There's like spells and stuff that she, you know, like how to find water using sticks and all that kind of like old folklore kind of stuff, which I really, really dig. So I'm really enjoying it. I also really love, she writes a lot about like their relationship as husband and wife and like what kind of person he is. And he's like, they're just like an interesting couple and they just like, you know.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's a good read. I like her. She's a good human, so.
And yeah, nothing wrong with being a bit witchy as well.
No.
Nice. We all need a bit of that, I think.
I think you get like you lovely Northern Irish people, like you get you celebrate these things, whereas here it's kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, everyone thinks you're like a pagan or a Satanist. So
No, there are plenty of people like that here too.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, but weirdos like you and me
Yeah.
don't mind that
no,
stuff
no,
so
no,
much. You know?
no. It's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. In that case, Beth, could you tell everybody where they can find us,
You can
please?
find us at bendypodcast.com.
Love it.
Tell us what
All right.
movies you love. I'm curious.
Yes, please do. Obviously.
What ones do we
especially
forget?
action
You're
movies.
like, this
Yeah, what ones
movie.
do we forget? Yeah, I'm sure you'll let us
You're like, I
know.
love Michael Bay. All right,
I know.
sorry.
Well, okay, that's good. All right, folks. In that case, as always, we like to remind you to stay bendy. Nice. We should have done an explosion.
I
at the end.
know.
Maybe I'll put one
Boom.
in afterwards.
There you go.
P.S.
You're
I
not going to
won't.
do
All
that.
right. No. All right. Bye. Love
I
you.
love you. Bye.